and thank you for watching the forum. I'm your host, Ashley Tate, here with my co-host, Christy Largent, and we are here with guest Ann Murphy, and she is the Executive Director of Shasta Land Trust. And it's a pretty interesting thing. I mean, we know it's here, but we've never really known what it does, and I don't think a lot of people know what Shasta Land Trust
perfect
does.
opportunity.
Yeah.
What is the Shasta Land Trust? What do you guys do?
Sure. The Shasta Land Trust is a 501c3 nonprofit, and it is our mission to conserve the beauty, character, and diversity of significant lands here in the North State. So we've been working since 1998, and we work with a lot of private landowners, communities, and conservation organizations to permanently preserve land.
Which is, I still have to say, a little vague. It's still a little vague. It tells exactly what you do, but some of the interesting aspects of what you do is that you actually find properties, or people will come to you about their property specifically, and you're going just to even preserve like a small portion of it. Is that correct?
Can you give us an example maybe
Sure.
of where somebody's come to you and what happens?
Absolutely. Most of the work that we've done over the years, and we've completed now about 14 projects on 22,500 acres, a lot of that has been on working agricultural ranches.
Okay.
So many ranchers have approached us over the years. I think our largest ranch is located in the Cow Creek watershed out in Oak Run. It's about 6,600 acres.
Wow.
And the landowners wanted to make sure that this beautiful property of theirs that had been in the family for generations and generations stayed intact.
Oh, wow.
And in order for them to graze cattle and to have their whole ranching operation, they need to have this large piece of property. And what we start to see oftentimes out in the country is that these properties get parceled up and new houses go in. But they wanted to make sure they had a legacy to pass on to their children and grandchildren. So they approached us about trying to preserve it. And the unique tool that we use in our world is a conservation easement.
Oh, okay.
And it's a legal agreement that we negotiate with the landowner, and every easement is very, very specific to what the landowner's goals are for their property and how they're using it. So if they're grazing cattle, or they have some gardens around the house, if they have trails for horseback riding, that sort of thing, we try to work with them to see how they're using the property, and then also what the features of the land are.
So it doesn't have to be for cattle?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
It can be for,
Yeah, it could be for wildlife habitat, for recreation, for historic value.
So do they actually, do they deed the property over to you, or how does it work? And like, how do they keep their estate intact and still have you guys involved with it?
Yeah,
You know, if you think about the old English common law, where you have this bundle of sticks as your ownership, and you have the right to put in an orchard, the right to build a house, the right to do all of these different things, all these different sticks that belong to your ownership. Essentially what they're doing is giving us the development rights. So they're kind of giving us that stick for development, and we hold on to that in perpetuity. So these conservation easements are really unique because it allows a landowner to still live on the property, use the property, and enjoy it. They can gift it, they can sell it, but that conservation easement stays in place.
Wow. So if
forever and ever and ever.
This is kind of interesting, because what if their heirs wanted to divide it up and sell it as a subdivision? They would not be able to do it because you guys would have that easement. So what are some parcels that you protected? You've mentioned the grazing.
Exactly, a lot of working agricultural ranches. We preserved our first ever Redding, inside kind of the heart of Redding property about a year and a half ago. That's part of the Lillian Nelson Preserve, and it's an area right along Boulder Creek, so it's an opportunity for us to get kids out on the property, and they love environmental education in that family, and so we've brought a lot of kids out there.
Is that right behind Boulder Creek? And
It is.
Yeah, that's, so my kids go to school there. I've run that trail so many times. I did not know that was it.
It's part of that area.
Okay.
Yeah,
is that not it?
I think it's a little bit over. It's 30 acres, but down in the valley with Boulder Creek, and just a great little piece.
This great piece of
right in the heart of Redding.
Taken care of property. Natural. So, what does it mean if something is protected? What does that term mean?
It means that it is forever protected, and what you see today on the property is essentially how it's going to look 100 or 200 years from now. These conservation easements are perpetual, so no matter who owns the land, even if they give it to their children or they decide to sell it, that conservation easement stays in place, so it's always protected.
That is really interesting.
So it's kind of like oil rights.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little. Yeah, that's actually a good.
In Texas, and people sell their property, but they retain the oil rights. So you guys, it can be sold, but you're going to retain the easement on it.
Right.
So are you the one that takes care? Not you specifically, and that's a lot to care. No. So does the Shasta Land Trust? They're the ones that keep it up and take care of it, and so the rest of the property could be terrible, but you have this section.
Whatever we have that conservation easement on, I mean, the landowner still owns the property, so they still, manage it and use it. But we have to make sure that they're abiding by the terms of that easement, and that they haven't built, a fast food restaurant in the back 40 somewhere. So part of our responsibility is coming out to the property at least once a year and walking it, and not going inside any buildings, but just walking the property and making sure that there hasn't been something there that shouldn't be. So we do that in perpetuity.
So how are you guys funded?
We are funded entirely by donations from our wonderful network of supporters we have here in the area, through some foundation support, and also through some of the state and federal grant sources that we can find to often purchase these conservation easements.
Now, besides the conservation side of it, what are the other benefits for the landowner to contact you and say, come out and preserve my land?
Yeah, I think most landowners tell us that they want to have a voice in how their property is used, and they want to see their legacy continue on to future generations. So having that personal voice in what happens to their property is very key for them. Landowners who approach us, we will work with them, walk the property, and try and understand its features and whether or not there's maybe some water, riparian habitat, how they're using it, if it's grazing or trails, that sort of thing. And then we start to negotiate a conservation easement. In some cases, we can purchase those easements if we can tap into a funding source. Oftentimes, the landowner will donate the easement because this is their legacy. And when they do that, they can be eligible for some federal tax benefits for doing so.
That's nice. Okay.
And and a lot of landowners tell us that this is kind of the best tool. They may have children that are scattered all over the country and they can't decide what to do when mom and dad pass away, and so this really is a great kind of estate planning tool and a great planning tool for families.
So how does what the Shasta Land Trust is doing compare with nationally? Because there are land trusts all over, correct?
There are about 1,700 land trusts across the country, and California has, about 220 some land trusts, so there are a lot of us.
Is it by each county?
It varies, usually by some sort of geographic region or sometimes a water source or a watershed. Some land trusts, one of my previous ones was a statewide organization, so we covered the entire state. But there's a lot of great work being done by land trusts all across the country. I think now the total amount of land conserved by these groups is over 45 million acres of land, so doing a lot of great work around the country.
Wow, that's such an interesting resource
for
people to have. And
I don't think people know about it.
Well, I guess unless you're a big landowner, then you're looking into options for maintaining your land, right?
Yeah.
Well, and we also, aside from the landowners who do have these large parcels of land, try and get out into the community. We do a whole series of fundraising events called our Wild Ways events, and it's a great way for people to really see the work that we're doing up close and support our efforts. And we, around the first of the year, we develop a whole season, usually 20 to 30 different events. Sometimes they're out on these properties.
That would be fun.
It's other great things we would encourage people to check us out.
So are they like parties where people buy the ticket, the proceeds from the tickets benefit you guys?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's great. Now, tell us a little bit about you, because as we were talking earlier before the show, you were saying that you were from Minnesota doing something very similar, right?
I'm originally from Michigan, and I started working at a land trust there about 18 years ago. And I moved from there to Ohio, where I was working for another land trust there, and then to Minnesota.
Did I mess up on Minnesota?
No, that was my most recent area, but I've been doing land trust work for about the last 18 years and all over the Midwest.
And how do you see what we're doing here in the North State differs from some of these other places?
Oh, well, water is just such an important issue, obviously, here in the West, which varies and is so different from the Midwest, where I've spent so much time working. But I think that the common tie across the country are these landowners who love their land so much and want to see it protected. So that's that conservation ethic is a great thing that thankfully we see everywhere.
What are obstacles that you guys deal with at the Land Trust?
I think our biggest obstacle really is funding. Trying to get enough donations and support coming in from our local community, and trying to tap into any sort of grant sources that are available out there to purchase these easements.
Are there a lot of grants available?
Well, funding is getting
always an issue
a little bit harder to come by these days. There are a lot of different sources if you're creative, but they have to meet, of course, very certain criteria.
Right.
And I think the funding picture is not as good as it was a few years ago. But oftentimes with these landowners, they're what we call land rich, cash poor, and this is a huge thing for them to be able to preserve their property with a conservation easement, and so we want to be able to get them dollars when needed. So we're constantly searching for different sources.
So it doesn't cost them money, but when they approach you, theoretically they could actually receive money from you guys getting the easement. So in essence, they're sort of selling you the easement portion of their property.
Exactly, and there are some often minor costs to them, either ordering appraisal of the property if they're taking a deduction, or just consulting with an attorney or an advisor to understand it.
So if people wanted to donate to you guys, what's the best way for them to find out what you have going on, how to connect with you?
Yes, check us out on our website, which is shastalandtrust.org.
Okay.
We have a monthly e-newsletter that goes out. You can sign up for that on our website, but that has our whole kind of calendar of events and interesting things that we have been up to, latest updates on the properties that we're working to protect, all kinds of good things.
And also, can they find out, is that how they can also contact you if they have a property? And
Absolutely.
They want to maybe find out if their property is...
Most definitely.
Okay.
ShastaLandTrust.org.
Yes.
Yeah. So any last minute, we've got to wrap up. This went so fast, of course. Anything else you want us and our viewers to know about?
We just helped complete the Great Shasta Rail Trail, which is an 80-mile rail corridor extending from Burning to McLeod. So come check it out.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for that work. That's going to benefit so many people for so long.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thanks for watching, and we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Thank you, Ann Murphy, Shasta Land Trust. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Hi, and we're back with Sean Weaver from Techni-Soil, and he's the owner and founder of this product, and it's extremely interesting. So I want to dive right in so we have enough time to talk about
we're going to be short on time, I can already tell, because Sean is super interesting, Reading boy, done very, very well. So tell us about Techni-Soil.
So I started a company called Techni-Soil about 5 years ago in Reading, and we just started tinkering with some chemistry, and it kind of revolved around stabilizing decomposed granite or crushed stone for pathways. And so it ended up becoming like a retail products company. And now we have 30 products, and they're sold across retailers from Home Depot to your local landscape supply store.
And all around the world, just FYI. He's being I'm going to be keeping him from being modest today because you are so modest. This is all around the world.
So tell us, this is the product, tell us about this.
In addition to Techni-Soil Global, we have another company, Techni-Soil Industrial, and I developed and patented a polymer technology that will eventually replace asphalt around the world. But you can use sand or crushed stone to build a road surface. And so we sell that to commercial projects or residential projects for aesthetic paving, but then we also have a process that cold recycles asphalt roads, and the finished road comes out the back of the machine, so it's pretty interesting.
So it's like a 200-foot machine, as you described it. Now, Reading, listen to this, because we need this on our roads here, because what's the unique characteristic? Tell us how that works.
So asphalt might last, on average, maybe 5 to 8 years between having to replace it. And so if you go to Russia, that road might last 1 to 2 years before they have to replace it. So our process uses a machine line that grinds the road, and the finished road comes out the back of the machine. So you can make 7 miles a day per machine line, and it's 50% less money, and the road lasts 40 years. So it's got some
a 40-year
between maintenance, and
wow.
so it's got big implications for a lot of countries that have poor road technology.
So did you create the line?
No, we took an existing equipment line and we modified it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it grinds up the old road, incorporates your technology, and out the back end comes a finished product that will last 40 years.
Which is really
Correct.
interesting.
That's remarkable. But
Yeah.
this
So-
is really special.
That is special because that's sand. And I wanted you to kind of talk about, I want to talk about this for a second.
Okay.
But I want to ask you about why you're so focused on being environmentally conscious. Of course, we want that, but where did that come from when you were creating everything?
Well, that's what the market demands. And so if you go out there and try to find ask a customer a question, what do you want? That's what they want. I mean, that's the mega trend of all the economies globally.
Was it hard to do that? I mean, is it hard to keep this product environmentally safe?
No, it wasn't.
Really?
It was, in fact, I was quite shocked that asphalt technology hasn't really improved that much over the last 40, 50 years, and how relatively, simple it was to come up with better chemistries and make something stronger. And I don't think I'm a rocket scientist, but I just happened to come up with something.
You actually might be, though, because you guys don't know this, but he actually taught himself how to do this. I mean, you did not take chemistry classes.
Correct.
You actually have a background
story.
in.
So I graduated from Shasta High School in '91, and I went to BYU. I got a degree in textiles, and I ended up designing clothes for a number of companies back in New York and San Francisco, and my own label, and ran that for about 15 years, and then got kind of tired of that, and ended up
You just got tired of it.
buying a rock quarry, the old brownstone quarry that built the original buildings in San Francisco, and put new modern machinery in there, and ran that business. And during that time, I had developed a new explosive and ran that business and sold it. And then I moved to Reading about 7-8 years ago and started this business. And so
you're a serial entrepreneur.
Yes, he
started
absolutely
Sees a
is.
need and fills it. And this is, tell us about the companies who are utilizing your product right now.
So
Kind of exciting.
today we're doing the Smithsonian Museum in New York, the Cooper Hewitt Museum. And then next week we're doing the National Museum in Doha, Qatar. And we're doing practically all the tech campuses in Silicon Valley, Google, Facebook. I can't mention the big one in Cupertino. We're doing a lot of the state and federal parks systems. We just did the Sutter Fort, which is local in Sacramento.
Nice. Yeah. Boy, they
have-
needed it.
They had an ADA compliance issue, and all the state and federal parks are going to move to this. And we did the Bernie Park Visitor Center.
Falls?
Yeah,
Okay.
there. And then a number of wineries and private residents down in the valley.
So the difference between this and you doing the crushed granite, which we're used to, tell us the big difference here.
Well-
and why is the state of California requiring this for ADA compliance?
Because they got sued by ADA because their trail systems were built with just straight decomposed granite or crushed stone. Well, when it rains, the wheelchairs can't navigate on those trails, and so they had to select a material that would allow for the compliance, which is grade and hardness.
And that's sand.
So this is sand, but you can use anything you want. You can use crushed stone, you can use dirt, and so it doesn't matter. And so it gives a lot of creative freedom to architects.
Instead of concrete, I can use this lovely product.
Yeah, or asphalt, and a
Yeah.
lot of like golf courses are switching out to stuff like this. It's just more aesthetically nice. It's cooler in the summertime.
And you can design the color to be whatever would be native to the
Correct.
look you're
That's
looking
what
for.
we do. Is we try to select local aggregates and keep the whole thing local. Yeah.
So tell us about what you did in Russia, because that's very interesting.
We just finished a big road. So the 2015 International Economic Forum was in St. Petersburg, Russia, hosted by Putin. And they had 200 world leaders in. And we built a road from the the airport to the Palace Square in front of all the world leaders.
Catherine's Palace?
Yeah.
That Catherine's Palace. Oh,
So,
yeah.
Wow.
we started at midnight. There was about 3,000 people watching, and we had it finished at 3 in the morning.
Did you use that technology you were describing?
We did. Well, we were short on a couple pieces of equipment, so we improvised, but we got the job done.
Were you there?
And, no, I had my team there, though.
Okay.
I typically don't go out to everywhere, but on occasion I
Are
will.
you going to Dakar?
No, Qatar.
Qatar,
Yeah.
Qatar.
No,
Sorry.
I'm not. I'm sending my sales manager and then Patrick Smith, who's from Reading.
Okay.
He's going to be out
Well,
there.
they're having a lot of fun. That's all I have to say.
know.
No, to sit back and tell them.
How many people are you employing here in Reading?
So I have about 15 in Reading.
Okay.
And maybe 5 outside of Reading.
Okay.
But we'll definitely add probably another 5 to 10 this coming year.
Yes, because of the state park.
Yeah. Well, just we need more people in more places around the world to, because we'll be working in practically every country around the globe, so we have to be in a lot of places.
And I just want to say that even though it sounds like, and you are doing some worldwide projects and things like that, but you can also use this for residential projects too, right?
Correct. Yeah. For just a pathway in your backyard.
Yeah.
And we've done it in Reading, and for quite a few of people. We're down on East Side Road in South Reading. If you guys want to come down,
You have a warehouse
get a
or
tour
a
sometime.
I know.
Yeah,
you
that's
should.
it.
That'd
Yeah.
be really
We should
fun.
come out there with the cameras. That would
Yeah.
be so neat to see what you're
Yeah.
doing locally. Well, as an entrepreneur, that's what keeps coming through to me
Yes,
is your
it-
entrepreneurial bug. And this just happened to hit with a lot of creativity and ingenuity. What would you recommend to somebody who's thinking, gosh, I really went down the wrong road in my life and it's too late now? I love your story. You were from a fashion designer to this.
Well,
It's
I think I
extraordinary.
was doing things that I liked.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the connection there. And then the big thing to do is you got to try to solve a problem. And so don't just because you like some widget and you want to go sell that widget. No, you have to solve a problem. And then if you solve a really big problem, then you have a big company.
Right,
And so
you're helping
that's
a
kind
lot of people.
Right.
Did you ever think that it would be this big?
I knew it could be this big because I knew that asphalt was kind of archaic technology and we could make something better. And with all the carbon initiatives that are out there globally and in California specifically, this takes a huge chunk. It's 85% reduction in carbon emissions for roads, and so that adds up to
Yes.
A lot.
tens of thousands of tons of carbon emission savings.
Yes, we need to get that down to LA.
How does this compare price-wise with either concrete or asphalt?
So it varies globally, but in many cases we're less than 50% the cost.
Of the cost?
Of the cost, yeah.
Of concrete or
Yeah.
asphalt?
Of asphalt.
Okay.
Of concrete, we're far less, much less. And
Wow.
so, for instance, our team's going to be in the Philippines in 2 weeks. The Philippines is made up of 2,000 islands, and they don't have hot mix asphalt plants on all these islands, and so they have to build these roads out of concrete where we'll utilize the native beach sand and then build their roads.
Which there's plenty of.
Yeah, right.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I love this story.
So,
This is
so
amazing.
they're going to have roads like this
Yeah,
from their sand.
And they will build it themselves. So we're going to teach them. So we build these big machines that do all the mixing, and they're very portable. We build those in Reading as well at Mobile Designs up on Caterpillar Road. And those machines now are shipping all over the world because you can use lower skilled labor.
Sure.
Labor to produce these roads, these rural roads for these villages.
Which is can you imagine the difference in having a paved, for lack of a better word, road than the dirt roads?
Yeah, the World Bank.
Extraordinary.
The World Bank has a statistics. For every dollar spent globally, $1, a road has the biggest economic impact for spending that $1 because it increases healthcare, education, and trade. Now these rural communities can get their goods
Yes, in and out of.
and out of these villages, and so it's pretty neat from a social aspect.
Sean Weaver, your family is amazing, right?
Yeah,
Brent is
they
his
are,
brother, in
yeah.
case you've been wondering, our Reading City Councilman and business owner and entrepreneur himself. You're
Did you
an
say little
entrepreneurial
brother?
Family.
Did you say little brother? Make sure everybody
Little
knows.
brother. This is Sean, and oh, I'm so excited to meet you and to find out about this. My head is spinning because I need some work done in my yard, and I'm using this for sure.
We'll take care of you.
Because why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Right here in the North State. So what a great show we've had today. Thank you so much for watching. We look forward to seeing you again next week when we'll bring you more interesting people doing interesting things right here on the forum.